loops it down there, and wide open. Then the ball is knocked loose. The catch is made, and then the ball is knocked out of his hand.
From Sachin Tendulkar to Virat Kohli.
You are lifting weights?
Correct. Does it not look like it?
Oh, the ball is free. Scooped up by Stroud. Circles, throws, complete on a busted play. Hutchinson.
It's Justin Herbert.
Hey, Buzz Lightyear.
I love this shit. I'm gonna smile all day. Hey, cause it's fun when I whoop a man's ass.
Welcome back to the Bolts Podcast. My name is Nick Cates. My pronouns are he and him, and it is a beautiful Wednesday morning down here in our podcasting lair. Of course, that is in the tunnel 3,000 feet below Fred Rosen's house down in Bel Air, and it was a beautiful, beautiful weekend for us as Chargers fans this weekend. We had our first home opener right here at this place that is virtually behind me, SoFi Stadium. It's a wonderful, wonderful win against the Broncos, 23-20. And I guess we can start with the fact that I don't really feel like this was much of a 3-point win. It felt like a much bigger win. Honestly, the Chargers dominated this game overall outside of about a 5-minute stretch before and after halftime. The Broncos had a pair of drives that didn't go super well for the Chargers defense, but sort of as a blessing in disguise, both times the Broncos were able to score using big plays and very quickly. And as a result of the Broncos scoring so quickly, the Chargers were actually able to maintain over 60% of the time of possession in the game, which, given that we're facing off against a Broncos defense that is quite possibly the best in the league, certainly employing Pat Surtain, the best cornerback in the league, as well as one of the best defensive lines in the league, it's really, really helpful to have them on the field for so many plays and so many minutes because it tires the hell out of them. And I think that's one of the big things that set the stage for the Chargers' big comeback near the end of the game. The Broncos had 138 yards on their 2 touchdown drives, which came right before and right after halftime. On 10 drives, otherwise, they only had 127 total yards, and they weren't able to even have a first down until 10:23 left in the second quarter. So, really excellent job by the Chargers defense, not only in keeping the Broncos offense off the board for a lot of the game, but they weren't even really able to get into gear either, and that is a difference that we saw from both the Raiders and Chiefs offenses were able to string together longer drives, which the Broncos weren't really able to do at all. As I said previously, on those 2 drives, it was really just made up of about 3 big plays total, which made up 112 of those 138 yards. The first of those was a touchdown pass to Courtland Sutton. On this play, I don't know what coverage the Chargers were playing. I don't think they knew what coverage they were playing. As I said in the video that I posted to our social media, follow us at Bolts Cricket Podcast. Alohi was 9 yards off the line of scrimmage. This was in a 2-minute drill situation, so the Chargers were trying to keep the Broncos off the board near the end of the half. And having your deep center field safety 9 yards off the line of scrimmage in a situation where the offense needs to score a touchdown as quickly as possible. Don't know why that happened. Don't know what happened. I'm willing to chalk it up to a one-time mistake, and just maybe that was our chargering for yesterday, was that one weird, like, almost goal line level of compression in that formation. But yeah, they ran Courtland Sutton on a post, and Alohi was not ready for Courtland Sutton to run a route that was more than 10 yards deep. And it was wide open, walked right into the end zone. Yeah, not great. The next one was in the second half, which was our old friend, former Charger last year, J.K. Dobbins, took an outside zone handoff that ended up going for 41 yards. It's easy to get mad at the run defense here, but if you go back and watch the tape, honestly, the entire run is sprung, and I got to give a lot of credit here to Broncos rookie wide receiver Pat Bryant, who laid one of the best wide receiver blocks I've seen all year on Tarheeb Still, which not only took Heeb out of the play, but it forced Alohi to take a really weird angle to JK as the free tackler, and JK just ran right past him, broke through for 41 yards. I can't get that mad. It didn't look like undisciplined. It didn't look like bad scheme or anything like that. It was just, honestly, I'll give it to Pat Bryant. That was a hell of a block. I haven't seen anybody manhandle Tarheeb like that, frankly, all season. Normally, it's the other way around. Ask Ashton Genty. And the last one was a 19-yard. It was functionally a screen pass, but it was one of those screen passes that doesn't go forward, so technically it's a handoff. And yeah, they were just exploiting the issues with outside zone. This time it was more subpar tackling from the Chargers. We didn't have a humdinger of a block from Pat Bryant, but JK just walked right in for the touchdown. And honestly, that's something that as Charger fans, JK's breakaway ability, we saw that a lot last year when he was our running back. So it's not super surprising to see from him. You just got to be a little bit more disciplined there, but I don't think it's too much of a red flag, and we've been able to contain outside runs otherwise so far this year. And honestly, I would say that from the Courtland Sutton play until the end of that first drive of the second half for the Broncos, the Chargers just kind of looked bamboozled. And then other than that, they look completely dominant. Like it's just weird, but that's the Chargers. If you haven't figured this out by now, that's the Chargers. The Courtland Sutton play was ultimately a manifestation of the Chargers getting punished for what has been kind of a recurring issue with our deep safeties so far this season. It never really manifested itself as such an across-the-board failure like that play did, but there were a couple of times during this game and during previous games where we had deep center field safeties just getting slightly distracted, just playing, especially crossers and digs, just a little bit too aggressively and allowing themselves to get beat over the top. The first play that I think a lot of you are going to remember is the big completion from Patrick Mahomes to Hollywood Brown from the Brazil game. This one was very frustrating to break down on tape because the Chiefs were avoiding Derwin James the entire game, and rightfully so, based on the way he's played this season. Putting the ball anywhere near Derwin James, honestly on the same field as Derwin James, is a bad idea. But Elijah Molden bit forward to play aggressively a out route that was being covered by Derwin and left Hollywood Brown open. That was an especially frustrating one for me because, like, they're not throwing at Derwin. They've been terrified of Derwin the entire night, and, like, you don't need the double. Just, if he'd slightly played deep center field on that play, he would have had a pick. We also had a couple of instances in this game. I know Tony Jefferson and Alohi both had plays where they played a crosser, or in Tony's case, he'd been on a double move, and it allowed a Broncos receiver to get wide open way deep down the field with a step on coverage. Luckily, between a combination of bad hands and a growing theory, which I am having after having watched him play on two separate occasions, which is Bo Nix is not very good. Combination of those two things caused those plays not to be complete and the Chargers to get lucky, but Chargers really, really got lucky on those plays, especially the last one, which was deep downfield with Courtland Sutton with 2 minutes to go in the game. So did still get lucky there, and this is a very small tweak. I know they've been watching it on film. Just a little bit more selling out to protect that deep center field area, and this stuff is just never going to happen. And honestly, this game is 23-13 rather than 23-20. If you want to see some of the visuals and some of the film breakdown that I did on this issue with the deep safeties, I encourage you to check out the aforementioned socials on TikTok, on Instagram, on YouTube. I did a full breakdown of our deep safeties playing these routes too aggressively on there, so go check it out if you want to see what this looks like on tape. But otherwise, the defense was absolutely outstanding, especially and including in crunch time, which was really, really important, other than that one play, obviously. Derwin James, when is he not the standout? But he was really the standout on Sunday. He had 12 total tackles, 4 tackles for loss, and a sack. I'm compiling some Derwin tape for maybe a slightly longer form reel video that I'm going to be releasing soon. It is insane to watch him play, and it is insane the almost like anti-gravity, the repulsive effect he has on defensive play calling, because nobody wants anything to do with this man nowadays, and rightfully so. I think Jim Harbaugh said kind of offhand in the Chargers uniform reveal video, actually, one of them, that Derwin's the best player in the league. And even, like, I love Derwin James. Derwin James is the reason I fell in love with the Chargers. Even I was like, that might be slightly hyperbolic. The tape so far this season, there might be an argument, guys. It's, oh my God, the stuff he could play all 11 positions on defense at times, it seems. Go check out the reel I posted yesterday about the bull rush against the Raiders, because you never ever see defensive back. The word defensive back, the word safety is reductive with this man. He's that talented. It's amazing. On the offensive side of the ball, things just kept rolling, honestly, in kind of a similar way to the way they did in the first two games. Justin had 300 yards on Sunday and a TD. Crucial TD at the end of the game. He also had an unlucky tipped interception, but Broncos, best defense in the league, possibly. This type of thing was going to potentially happen, and again, tipped interception. It's unlucky. It wasn't like he made a bad decision. I've seen him make worse decisions that didn't turn into interceptions this year, so another great game from Justin, and he got sacked 5 times, maintained his composure. I honestly didn't even realize he got sacked 5 times until I went back and looked at the box score. So I think that says a lot about Justin's composure. Quentin Johnston continues to act like he was always our number one receiver and never ever had any problems catching balls. He was matched up against Pat Surtain, the best quarterback in the NFL, one-on-one for basically the entire game. Still had 6 catches for 89 yards, including an electrifying 37-yard catch and run. He had like 4 Broncos around him, and he turned around and just sort of zooped out of there, and he ran away for 37. It was such an electrifying play. It got the entire stadium rocking. What a play from Q. I love to see this. I've been a Q defender for a long time. I don't know. I remember when they picked him instead of Zay Flowers, and I was just like, this man's on our team. This man's our receiver. I'm going to accept him until he isn't. And I think the Q has really paid that off so far this season. He looks like the monster receiver we were all promised. He seems uncoverable in any way. The only thing you can hope for is that he's going to drop the ball at this point. So I'm excited to see where he goes from here. I think that as he continues to gain confidence, he's only going to catch more balls and only have more yards. So love to see this from Q. Hopefully he can make 1,000 yards this season. I'm really rooting for that. Omarion Hampton has arrived, folks, and it is a great sight to see. He had 129 all-purpose yards to lead all running backs in the game, including 70 yards on the ground. And again, I said this in some of the film review from last week. I think I may have said it on last week's pod. When he gets his blocking, when the run blocks materialize, he is the guy we were promised. We've seen some really good fronts so far. Unfortunately, that's not going to be letting up next week, but we've seen some pretty quality fronts so far. These have all been division games. Nobody expected AFC West division games to be an easy welcome for Omarion to the NFL, but it looks like he's really gaining some confidence, especially as a receiving back, which isn't something that really jumped out, at least to me, from his college tape, but he is such a good runner and he is so hard to bring down. It doesn't matter. You pass him the ball, you hand him the ball, he doesn't care. Good luck tackling Omarion, and I'm excited to see what he does against the Giants next week with all this newfound confidence. And one more rookie who has arrived. It's a guy we talked a lot about in the preseason. A lot of people talked about him in the preseason. He was kind of the breakout star of training camp. Oronde Gadsden, tight end. He looks nasty, folks. 5 out of 7 targets he hauled in for 46 yards and some really, really key conversions. I honestly, this might be kind of a hot take. It's also, this is implied by, the Steve-O Klotz agenda, which I've been pushing on all of you for quite a while now and laying it on really thick ever since he got cut. But I'm saying get rid of Tyler Conklin. Give Oronde that receiving tight end role. He's been so much more reliable. Even in just one game, he was so much better than Conklin. And bring back Steve-O to help block for Omarion. And I want to see what this offense can do with that combination of guys. No disrespect to Tyler Conklin, but I don't know what to say. Oronde looks so good. He looked basically seamless transition from the preseason into the regular season and to just come right back on the field. It's the first game he's even been active and make those great catches, look so at home in the NFL. Keep giving him snaps, Jimbo. I love this guy. And Keenan Allen, he had some early drops, folks. He had some early struggles. He's been a little bit more inconsistent with the hands this year. Maybe it's just Q spread his drops. He gave a couple of them to Ladd and Keenan, and he's catching a couple more balls now, and that's why that's happening. I don't know. Pet theory. We'll see how it plays out for the rest of the season. But honestly, it didn't matter at all because Keenan, as he always does, came through in the clutch with some key conversions on the game-tying drive and, of course, the game-tying touchdown with Herbert extending the play and Keenan making a great catch in the back of the end zone. That was electrifying. Everybody around us was hype for that catch. One of the most hype catches I would say I've seen since I've been going to Charger games at SoFi. So, another great game from Keenan. And honestly, the biggest thing I can say about our receiving core since the start of the season, spreading the wealth around. It's not like last year where like Ladd is the option, and if you cover him, you can really put a damper on our offense. No, you cover Ladd, you get Q. You cover Q, you get Keenan. You cover all of them, you get Oronde or Omarion or one of these other guys. Maybe you get some Trey Harris or some KL Smith. This is what we wanted to see out of the Chargers receiving core for years. If anything, my only regret is that Mike Dubb did not make it long enough to join in with this great receiving core, but I hope he's at least enjoying it as much as we are watching from home. A little bit of sad news. This is a sad one for me. I know Omarion is going to be super bummed about this because he, as I am, is a huge fan of Najee Harris, our other running back, who's been playing great this season. Also never missed a game in his career until this coming weekend because unfortunately Najee Harris went down non-contact with an Achilles injury. He seemed to be gritting his teeth through it and got a lot of respect for Najee's pain tolerance because I can't imagine that ever happening to me, but devastated for him. I kind of hope they bring Najee Harris back. I think he deserves a full year as running back for the Chargers. I really enjoyed having him around. I'm glad he's at least going to be hanging around on the sideline for the rest of the year, but I'm bummed, man. I was really excited about this nice two-headed monster in the backfield, and we have to replace Najee's power running. I don't know how we're going to do that. This is the moment where cutting Rocket Sanders really bites you in the ass because he would be the perfect man to step up and fill that role, but now we don't really have it. I suppose it might be possible. We can hope that Cleveland cuts him for some reason, or maybe we send a pick to them or a player, but like that's weird with a guy who was undrafted who you cut. Like I feel like that's kind of embarrassing. So curious to see what the Chargers are going to do about filling the hole left by Najee Harris's absence, but I want to thank Najee for everything he gave to the team this year. If he doesn't come back next year, I already know I'm going to miss him, even though it's only been a couple of games, and I don't think that this is going to be overall devastating to the offense. It's still a bummer. I still think it would have been more fun if Najee never got hurt. So, get well, Najee. Stay healthy. Another area we could potentially be thin is at returner. Darius Davis, our longtime kick returner, has a knee injury that he's dealing with. And we had some uneven issues with that during preseason in terms of backups and depth. I think Omarion Hampton may be returning some kicks at some point while Darius is out. And I will also be looking to see if potentially Luke Grimm, who ran that punt back against the Rams during the preseason, might be potentially elevated to the active roster. He was cut initially, but he was re-signed to the practice squad later on. And I'm curious to see if they will elevate him. Yes, he did muff 2 punts against the 49ers. We talked about that extensively, but he's been sitting there getting practice, fielding kicks ever since then, so maybe we will see a return of the Grim Reaper. And as I mentioned before, Justin was sacked 5 times. That's not excellent. We have had some issues with offensive line. Mekhi Becton went into concussion protocol, which is not excellent. I still think that the line performed pretty admirably being a little shorthanded like this. Obviously, we've already lost Rashawn Slater. We had Trey Pipkins go down briefly, although he ended up coming back into the game. So I'll be curious to see who the Chargers may end up bringing in at tackle, or if maybe Mekhi will clear protocol before next week's game. We could use it. We could really use it, because next week, the Chargers will be playing in a matchup that we at this podcast like to refer to as the Orion Bowl, being that it is between Orion, my wonderful co-host's 2 favorite football teams. We've had the Nick Bowl 2 years in a row, both won by the Chargers, and so I think it's time finally we have an Orion Bowl. But the Orion Bowl means the Chargers are playing the Giants, and the Chargers playing the Giants means we need to go up against a defensive line made up of Kayvon Thibodeau, number 5 pick from a couple of years ago, Dexter Lawrence, probably the best defensive tackle in football, Brian Burns, who was also a top pick a few years ago, and the Giants basically fleeced the Panthers for because they traded him for no reason, and Abdul Carter, who was, I believe, number 3 this year, number 3 pick, one of the top picks this year, and dominating so far in the NFL. So we really need to be working on pass protection for next week. Yes, the Giants have struggled in basically every other phase of the game, but we got to keep Justin protected no matter what. And this may be the best line that we face all year. And maybe that's the good news. Maybe we're getting all of our nasty defensive lines out of the way early. I know we're going to have the Eagles later this year too, so that's not going to be fun. And obviously we got to play all the division teams one more time. But once we get past the G-men, well, it can kind of only get easier than the Broncos and the Giants. So hopefully we will be able to get that sorted, because those guys can definitely wreak havoc. They were causing some problems for Patrick Mahomes last week as well. And finally, for the Giants game, we will be seeing a rookie quarterback making his first start, Jackson Dart, for the Giants. He has played a couple of isolated plays. I don't even know if he's attempted a pass yet, or maybe just 1 or 2, but he will be making his first start as an NFL quarterback against Derwin James and the white-hot LA Chargers defense. So we'll see how that works out for him. I'm obviously hoping it won't work out super well, but you never know. But also, hopefully not. I hope we feast on his ass. Alrighty, think that's all the football there, so let's move on to a couple of items of cricket.
Go, Chargers, go! Chargers, go! Go, go, go!
Alright, to the cricket. And the Asia Cup is continuing apace. As an update to what we discussed last week, Sri Lanka beat Afghanistan, sad face, and Pakistan stayed in the tournament. So we have a Super 4 of Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, India, and Pakistan. This is a sort of mini round-robin group stage. Each team plays each other once, and the top 2 will advance to the final. India continues to cruise. In fact, as I'm recording this, they are currently cruising over Bangladesh. I think if they win that, they're guaranteed a space in the final. I think they might even be 3 for 3. But no, sorry, this is their second. I think if they win this, they're basically a lock to go to the final. Statistically, mathematically, everything else. The big match, I think, will be tomorrow, which is Pakistan versus Bangladesh. And if Pakistan can beat Bangladesh, who are on the second of back-to-backs, the final will most likely be India versus Pakistan for a third time in this tournament, which of the 4 remaining teams is probably going to be the most interesting one. So we will be looking out for that, and I hope I did not just curse India by talking about how they were cruising against Bangladesh. And finally, the much talked about, much discussed Caribbean Premier League has come to an end. And for me, as a Los Angeles cricket fan, it is an ending full of resentment, anger, spite, sadness, bitterness, emotions such as these. Why, you may ask? Because the CPL has been won by a certain Trinbago Knight Riders. And yes, that is Knight Riders, as in LA Knight Riders. So you can imagine that us LA Knight Riders fans are over here being like, you couldn't have done any of that jam in LA? You know, you couldn't have pulled out some of those sixes in LA? Kind of frustrating, you know, after everything. Had my St. Lucia Kings, dispatched them. We had the Antigua and Barbuda Falcons breaking new ground, dispatched them. Why can't you play like this for LA, huh? Give Trinbago 1 year off and bring some of that Trinbago sauce to the LA Knight Riders for a year. Maybe we'll freaking beat MI New York for once. God damn it. And of course, the MVP for TKR in this match was somebody who plays for a different team in Major League Cricket, and that is USA superstar, fast bowler, Saurabh Netravalkar, who took 3 for 25 from his 4 overs. So Saurabh's out here taking 3 for 25. Maybe the LA Knight Riders need to get after taking him from the Washington Freedom. Yeah, I know that was terrible. I know you probably hate that joke. But you know what? You want some good news? There's somebody else who hates that joke. And they also hate this disparity in results between the LA Knight Riders and the Trinbago Knight Riders, and is even more anxious to discuss this widening gulf. I am speaking, of course, of none other than our guest on this podcast next week, who will be Shohei Ohtani, all-rounder of the Los Angeles Dodgers. So, for Ariane Ori, Oronde Gadsden, and everybody else associated with the NFL's 4077th team, my name is Nick Cates, and I'm saying, well...
I've got so much to say and so little time to say it. Great job, everybody. Who's got it better than us? Nobody!